let's go to CTV's Jeremie Charron. He's in Ottawa with more for us, and we want to talk about that meeting yesterday between the Prime Minister and the Premiers. It was all about President-elect Trump's tariff threat. What are you learning?
Yeah, Marcia, we'll learn probably more as the day goes on today, but certainly we know that the premiers, this is the second meeting the premiers have had with the Prime Minister about these tariffs, expressing concerns. We know that we heard last time around, specifically from Doug Ford, that they were expecting a plan from the federal government on how to tackle these tariffs, how to address concerns at the border, and what Canada's potential retaliation could be to those tariffs. Doug Ford, after yesterday's meeting, called it a constructive meeting and said that, Ottawa presented a plan to the premiers that is a good start, he said, and that they're working together, the premiers and government officials in Ottawa, on compiling a list of all Canadian goods that could be slapped with retaliatory tariffs as a response to those 25%. That threat of those 25% tariffs from Donald Trump. We also know that Doug Ford spoke yesterday about energy. Canada is seen as the single largest source of U.S. energy imports. And we heard from Doug Ford yesterday that he is considering, and they're looking at the potential of taking away those energy sources and stopping importing energy into the U.S. He spoke specifically about, the impact that Canadian energy has and is being supplied to Michigan, New York State, Wisconsin, and talked about, shutting off those energy sources. So it's clear that significant discussions were had during the meeting with the premiers yesterday, and Doug Ford taking that stance that if necessary, he would consider shutting off energy to the U.S. That is something that, of course, would have a massive impact. We also know that Doug Ford spoke yesterday about the Prime Minister's plan, a plan that was presented to the premiers to address issues at the border. We know that a plan was presented. We don't know the specifics of that plan. Again, we're hoping to learn more as the day goes on today about that meeting and specifically what was discussed. Again, we know that there is a list of potential goods that could be, slapped with retaliatory tariffs. But we have yet to see the full plan from the federal government when it comes to kind of announcing what its response could be to these potential tariffs.
Yeah.
Certainly, it would appear that there were good conversations had yesterday.
Yeah, and in the meantime, it seems that things between the president-elect and the prime minister are getting more awkward. Even Elon Musk on his social media website, weighing in, calling Trudeau a tool, leaving many of us to wonder, Jeremie, about that meeting at Mar-a-Lago. We're kind of seeing it in a different light. What's going on here?
Yeah, a lot of talk, Marcia, about the relationship between Trump and Trudeau and everything that has happened since. There's the tweet from Elon Musk, calling him an insufferable tool who won't be in power for much longer. That tweet came in response to comments that the Prime Minister made about the election result and the fact that American voters, Prime Minister Trudeau said, for the second time in a row, did not vote in a woman as president. And so he was critical about the kind of progress when it comes to women's rights and progressive issues that the U.S. voters have made. So he was critical of the decision to not vote in a female for the second time in a row. And that was the response that Elon Musk gave to that comment. Of course, this all comes following the back and forth and the fallout of that meeting at Mar-a-Lago. And as we slowly learned about some of the conversations that were had, some of the jokes that were made, Marcia, at Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's expense. We know that Donald Trump joked about Canada becoming the 51st state, about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau being its governor. And we've seen that escalate further. We saw just days ago a post on Truth Social, the President-elect Donald Trump's own social media platform, again calling Canada or talking about whether Canada should become the 51st state and referencing Governor Justin Trudeau. So there's been a lot of, interesting moments, if you will, when it comes to the relationship between the two. And that's something that was talked about during yesterday's Premier's meeting as well. We know that Premier Doug Ford said he brought up the comments that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made that were the target of that Elon Musk tweet, and said that they were not helpful to these ongoing tariff talks, right?
And just so our viewers know,
he's done damage.
Just so our viewers know what you're talking about, Jeremy, he was talking in a speech about how he was still a feminist and pointing out that Americans have twice missed the opportunity to vote for a woman. So, all right. Well, thank you for that, Jeremy. We're going to check in with you later as you continue to monitor reaction and follow up on that meeting between the Prime Minister and the Premiers yesterday.